What's going on, Bottom Line viewers? It's Mitch here of the Bottom Line View, back with another NFL video. And it seems like every single season in the NFL, there are a couple of teams who shock us all and unexpectedly finish first in their division when they finished last the season previous. A team that wasn't really expected to do anything comes out of nowhere and makes the playoffs or wins their division. And that's exactly what I'm going to discuss in this video. I'm going to talk about and rank all 8 of the teams that finished last in their division in 2017. And I'm going to rank their likelihood of them making the playoffs in 2018. So every division, every team that finished last in 2017. Before I do so, make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, hit the notification bell if you are subscribed to the Bottom Line View to get our latest and best and newest content. All right, so let's talk about the rankings. And first, before I do rank these teams, I have to give you the factors that I took into account when ranking these teams. Because some people will be scratching their head in terms of, well, this team is probably better than the other, but what I really took into account was a number of things besides talent alone of the team. Now, first, I took into account the talent level of the team. Second, I took into account the competition that lies within the division. How good do I think the teams within the division will be? And how consistent are those teams in terms of are they always winning? Are they a winning team, a winning franchise? Do they have a great quarterback that consistently puts a playoff team, in NFC or in the AFC? What is their strength of their offseason? Did they decline during the offseason? Did they get better during the offseason? And also, what is the potential of the team itself? Is it a team with a lot of young players that are going to get better? Is it a team that is only getting older? Is it a team that's in an uncomfortable position in the middle of nowhere? Is there a quarterback that could potentially break the glass ceiling for them and get them to the next level? Is there a key player or an X factor that there's really to look out for? So those are the key factors going into this video. So let's start off with the team that I believe has the least likely chance. Not saying that they have no chance, but just saying that they have the least likely chance of winning the division in 2018. And to me, that's the New York Jets. Now, the reason and the biggest reason why the New York Jets are last on this list is because they have the most consistent team in pro football in their division. They have the New England Patriots in their division. And the New England Patriots, of course, we know with Tom Brady, have only missed the playoffs one time when he started a full season. So that being said, Tom Brady and the Patriots, they've been to the AFC Championship the last 7 years in a row, 2010 to 2017. And the last time they missed the playoffs was with Matt Castle. And when they had Matt Castle, they still went 11-5. Yes, they missed the playoffs, but that was a pretty crazy year in the AFC. So that being said, it's going to be very difficult for the Jets to jump over the Patriots. That's why the Jets are pretty much last. That's the biggest factor. Now, the other factors why they are last on this list is they do still have a few weak spots on their roster. The first one being the unknown of the quarterback position. Now, this could end up being a strength of their team. It depends on Sam Darnold. He's the X factor here. If Sam Darnold is awesome and Sam Darnold is really great, then of course the Jets are going to be a lot better than everybody expects, and they might even finish as high as second. I still don't see them topping the Patriots, but I still think that they can be competitive. And Sam Darnold or Teddy Bridgewater, for example, could be a good quarterback and let's say Pro Bowl level, they could take the Jets to a playoff spot. I do not deny that at all. And you look at the other teams in the division, Miami and Buffalo, they're there for the taking. So that being said, the Jets, they are last. They still have a few weak spots on their roster, like quarterback. They do also have some strengths on their roster, like a strong secondary, where they improved that unit with signing Trumaine Johnson. They do have a young, talented defense. I do believe they do still have a weak pass rush on their defense, and their biggest weakness besides quarterback and the unknown of that position is probably their playmakers on offense. besides Robbie Anderson and maybe Isaiah Crowell, who's an upgrade in the run game, they're shaky at tight end, and the depth at receiver is not exactly the greatest. Their offensive line is fine, but they just aren't a team that really scares anybody, and they're not a team that really jumps out at you and says, hey, whoa, that could be a potentially dangerous unit. So the Jets, they're a fine team, and I think that they'll probably be about the same team they were last year, and they do have potential to do a little bit better, given they might have better play at the quarterback position, although Josh McCown was kind of underrated last year. I do believe that the Jets just won't be able to get over the hurdle of the Patriots. That's why they're last on this list. At number 7, this might shock a lot of people. I actually do like this team, but it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The reason why I have the Bucs number 7 is because of their division. I believe the NFC South is the toughest division in football. Arguably, if it isn't, it's number 2 with the NFC North. Those two divisions are very difficult, but the NFC South has probably more of the proven teams here. You're talking about the New Orleans Saints with Drew Brees and Sean Payton, consistently been very good teams, and they've pretty much only gotten better. They've gotten a young team last year. They've added some pieces. They seemingly look a lot better going into the 2018 season. The Atlanta Falcons have been very good ever since, the change at the head coaching position. Matt Ryan is still their quarterback. As far as we know, Julio Jones is still going to be playing on their team. Their defense took steps forwards last year. They might not be as talented as they were the last 2 years, but they're still a very good team. The Panthers still have Cam Newton. Their defense still has Luke Kuechly. And they did add some pieces on offense and defense. So that being said, the NFC South is a pretty difficult division, and that's the biggest reason the Bucs rank at number 7. They also do have a couple of question marks in terms of 2 very important positions on their team. The quarterback, is Jameis Winston really mature enough to lead a team to an NFC South title? Is he really the answer here? I feel like most of it with Jameis Winston is in his head. I believe he does have the talent, but that does strike you as a question mark. The second thing is, I don't believe in their coach. I think they do need an upgrade at the coaching position, and I think that will probably happen next year. But the Bucs, I do like what they did in terms of their offseason with their free agency and their defense and all that. So that's a positive. I just think, and they do have potential for a good offense and a good team, but I just think that their division is very difficult. It's going to be tough for them to get to first. Maybe they could get to the wild card spot like the Jets, but first place is going to be very, very tough, considering I am very high on the Saints this year, and I'm also a fan of the other teams in this division. At number 6, I have the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Browns are at number 6. They moved up a little bit here in the world. I do believe that the Browns do have an easier division than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's why they do jump the Bucs here. And the reason why is because if something happens to Ben Roethlisberger, I think that the Steelers would be not a very good team. So that being said, if Ben Roethlisberger goes down with an injury for a lengthy period of time, let's say 5 games, I think the Browns have the potential to win the division because the Ravens, to me, are still a mediocre club. The Bengals are the very same. So the Browns would have that opportunity to jump those 2 teams with 1 injury to a Steelers player. That is why I have the Browns basically ahead of the Bucs, because the Bucs would have to jump 3 teams that are pretty talented, while the Browns would probably only have to jump really 1 team because the other teams are going to be in mediocre land. So the Browns, though, this is if everything goes to plan. Like, I'm not saying the Browns are going to be number 2 in their division. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying if everything lines up with the potential of the team that they do have, because you look at their offense, it's pretty loaded. Their offensive line is very strong. Their only question mark is their left tackle. Their quarterback position is better than it used to be and is better than it has been in years. Their running back is stronger than it was last year with Carlos Hyde, Duke Johnson, and also Chubb as well. You have a very strong receiver core with more playmakers than they've had in a very long time. Josh Gordon is back and healthy, and he looks awesome. Jarvis Landry is there, and he's a very reliable player. Their tight end position is young and a lot of potential there with Njoku. Their defense, a lot of potential on the D-line with Myles Garrett. The linebacker position is actually very, very underrated. A big question is the secondary. If they can get it done, then this team looks like a team that could surprise a lot of people. So that being said, the Browns have a ton of potential. If it all lines up and a Ben Roethlisberger injury happens, the Browns could win their division. Now, it could, of course, go the opposite way. And if Hugh Jackson does not improve as a coach, if Todd Haley does not come in and correct some of the offensive flaws, then the Browns are still going to be a weak team. And number 5, I have the New York Giants. The New York Giants are the ultimate wild card of the entire NFL because one season they'll win the Super Bowl. Ever since they've gotten Eli, they're that team that is really dangerous once they enter the playoffs because they have that Eli factor. They have that Super Bowl factor. They've done it before, and they've come from the wild card and done it. So the Giants usually aren't a team that wins their division, even when they're good. But I think, again, you look at the NFC East, and it's very much like the AFC North to me. They have one very strong team in the Philadelphia Eagles, who I think is going to win their division pretty much. But if I'm saying that there's a team that could potentially knock off the Eagles in that division, I actually think it could be the Giants, again, given full potential. The Giants, with a very loaded offense, an improved offensive line, Saquon Barkley could be the star at running back this year. Odell, we know what he can do. Of course, they have Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, and if Eli can give some competent play at quarterback, that could be a very dangerous offense. You also have to think back to last year, and when they did play the Eagles, they were the most competitive team amongst the division. Then you go to the defense. It's a couple years away from one of the top defenses in the NFL. They still have a lot of stars on that defense. Snacks Harrison on the D-line, Olivier Vernon, Landon Collins. So they'd still have a lot of players, Janoris Jenkins as well. Plus they switched their coach, which I think will help their offense. So the Giants, they have new hope. They have a new coach. They have a new star with Saquon Barkley. I think that's big when looking at a team that could potentially go from last to first. At number 4, I have the Chicago Bears. They would be a lot higher if their division wasn't so tough, but the Bears do have one of the most toughest divisions in the NFL. Like I said earlier, it's the NFC South or the NFC North for the toughest division in football, and the Bears are in the NFC North. Now, they have to deal with the Vikings, they have to deal with the Packers, and they have to deal with the Lions. That's the reason why they're at number 4. But I put them as high as number 4 because I believe in the talent on their team. They have a very, very good roster, top to bottom, offensively, defensively. I've talked about it many times before. They have a lot of playmakers now on offense, going out in free agency, in the draft, and addressing those needs at receiver and tight end. Then you already have a great running game, a very solid offensive line, a young quarterback, this is key, that is in his second year that could take a major step thanks to a new head coach who has a very welcoming offensive scheme. They already have a top 10 defense. So that being said, the Bears are a big wild card. They remind me a lot of the Eagles last year, to be quite honest with you. A defense that has a lot of potential that was already pretty good. An offense that they showed promise in certain areas of their game but needed some work with a step from their quarterback. Now, if Mitchell Trubisky has a step like Carson Wentz, their defense plays as good as the Eagles did last year, then we're talking the Bears are the best team in the NFC North. It doesn't even matter how good the Vikings or the Packers are. But the reason why they're at number 4 is I still have some questions on whether Mitch Trubisky is ready to take that step. I have questions a little bit on their defense in terms of their pass rush. And I also have questions on really, are they going to be able to beat the Packers and the Vikings? That's a tall task. So beating Aaron Rodgers is one thing, but beating a Vikings defense and a Kirk Cousins-led unit is going to be very difficult. So even though the Bears, I'm a huge fan of them this year, it's going to be tough for them to win their division. At number 3, the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are at number 3, not because I think that they're third most talented team on this list, but because I believe that this is a very, very open division in the AFC West. You're talking about a Kansas City team who won the division last year, who only went, I think, 10-6. They lost their quarterback, and now they do have Patrick Mahomes, who He's their starting quarterback now, but he's a rookie essentially. He barely played last year. Alex Smith left to Washington. They traded him. Okay, Marcus Peters is gone as well, one of their best playmakers on defense. The Chargers are the Chargers, and they can always F up. They have kicker problems all the time. They'll probably lose 2 games alone because their kicker can't kick a field goal. Then you have the Raiders, who stunk last year, and they have a new coach, and they have new promise and new hope, but I still don't see them being a top team in this league. So the Broncos, if they get back to their great defense, if Case Keenum gives them the best quarterback play they've had since Peyton Manning, and, you know, they have veterans with a proven track record to win with success. They do have a question mark with their coaching, huge question mark. I'm not a fan of Vance Joseph. But their offense got a major makeover. They have a lot more weapons now. Their run game got a makeover. Their quarterback got a makeover. Their offensive line got a makeover. So if that can work out, there's a lot of questions regarding the Broncos, but there's also a lot of promise and a lot of potential there as well. Plus, you have Chubb and Von Miller on the edge. That's dangerous. So the Broncos at number 3. And number 2, I have the 49ers. The 49ers are a team with a lot of hype. A lot of people are drinking the 49er Kool-Aid, including myself. I put them at number 2 here because I don't see the NFC West being a very tough division. The Seahawks, I think, are going to decline quite a bit into the mediocre range. I see the Cardinals being in that same range, maybe even a little dip lower. But the 49ers, with Kyle Shanahan, a full year with Jimmy Garoppolo, I think that this team is going to be explosive on offense, and they'll definitely score a lot of points. McKinnon gives them an upgrade at running back. I think that their offensive line is pretty solid with the drafting Mike McGlinchey was very good at tackle. Pettis, drafting him at receiver, could add a little bit of speed and playmaker ability and maybe even a returning ability. Garcon is back, so that's pretty big. Of course, you sign Richard Sherman on defense, who could bring together this defense as a unit and really get the best out of them. Their run defense and their defensive line was already pretty solid last year. It's a matter of their pass defense getting better. And just if their offense can play the way it did in that 5-game winning streak, this is going to be a tough team to handle for every team in the NFL. So that being said, I really like the 49ers offseason. I like what they have in their quarterback and their coach. And that's the biggest reason I have them at number 2. At number 1, I have the Houston Texans. The reason why I have the Houston Texans first instead of the 49ers is because I do not trust Blake Bortles of the Jaguars. And the Jaguars were the second best team in the AFC last year. They made it to the AFC Championship, but a lot of that was based off a team that was built through defense and their run game, and usually those teams don't last very long. They usually go year to year and bounce around and are good every couple of years, the Jaguar type of teams, because Blake Bortles won't be consistent at quarterback. And this is the biggest reason I have Houston Texans first, as well as Deshaun Watson returning from injury, as well as J.J. Watt returning from injury, and Whitney Mercilus is also back. They upgraded their secondary, which was their weakest part of their team, with Tyrann Mathieu and Colvin as well from the Jaguars. They upgraded their offensive line with 3 new starters, Henderson and Fulton being 2 of them. You have, of course, the Titans with a new head coach, a new regime. Is Marcus Mariota really the guy? It's a huge question with the Titans in terms of, are they ready to take that step as a division winner? I believe the Titans will be a good team, and I like what they did in the offseason as well as the Texans, but I just don't really trust the Titans or the Jags to get it done, and don't even get me started with the Colts, like Andrew Luck's finally throwing a football. So the Texans are going to be a team to look out for, and the number 1 team I have as the team that could go from last to first in their division, followed by the 49ers as the 2 most realistic teams that could do that. It's going to be very interesting to see who is the team and who, if there's multiple teams that make that jump from last to first in their division. It's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. If you guys enjoyed, hit the like button and subscribe for more NFL content. Peace out.